Hey guys! Welcome back to Let's Play Chrono Trigger. This is the finale. As you can see, decided to take the epoch with me. There are a few small things that will change with the ending depending on little things that you do, such as whether or not you recruited Magus, whether or not you saved Luca's mother's legs, and whether or not you take the epoch with you to the final fight. Powerful life force within. No choice but to head on in. Now you only get to see that sequence that I showed off a couple episodes ago. You only get to see that once. Close to the center. Robo is one of my favorite characters to bring into the final fight just because of the dialogue we get out of him. Heartbeat, breathing. One final look at my setup. Okay. Let us face the monster that destroyed the world. This is the real thing. Amazing. Houses the DNA of every creature that ever lived. Akira Toriyama, thank you for drawing things. The doors of doom open. Ouch, that hurts! This guy has a few parts. And you know what? I'm not going to be able to heal Robo to full any other way, so I'm just going to Mega Elixir. And it's probably a good idea to do anyway. As you can tell, we're here to target the arms first, as the head does not take a whole lot of damage. Your best bet is to basically spam your most powerful attacks and make sure to heal when necessary. This guy has the ability to inflict a number of different status effects, and he is really powerful as a final boss should be. However, each of the arms has a different amount of HP, and in order to finish off the right one, we need to do an extra hit. In the case of Robo, it's only one. With most others, it's a lot more than that. He will still have high defense until he uses that obstacle attack, which also inflicts chaos, so be aware of that. We can duck down to some of the less expensive techs if we want. Bringing Robo here with the Prism specs and the strategy that goes with that really nullifies a lot of the challenge of this boss. I believe this one inflicts slow or stop. We'll use an Uzi Punch at half power. Still does 3,000 damage. Absolutely ridiculous how abusive and how powerful Robo ends up becoming. I don't think there's anything else I really need to do. I'm not sure what the the MP efficiency is between Mega Bomb and Flare. It's probably more effective to use Flare, but I'm not 100% sure. Got a Flame Battle attack. Like to show off a bunch of his abilities. We've got Shadow Doom Blaze. This is one of his more powerful attacks from what I remember. And it looks freaking cool. And it does an ass ton of damage. Also, the final boss theme. Evil Emanation. Lavos attack power up. I think I should probably heal. There's another obstacle. But yeah, the game pretty much requires you to have access to status protection for this fight. If not, you're going to have a very difficult time trying to not only stay alive, but stay unconfused. Because Lavos loves to confuse you. He also loves to use other status effects and deal a lot of magical damage. If you're not prepared, you're in trouble. Let's make sure we keep up with the healing here. With that, we've won. Am I the only one during the whiteout that sees a keyhole between this thing's legs? I can't be the only one. Now I understand. It lives on a planet for as long as possible, stealing away the most vital resources. It combined the DNA it found here with its own and gave birth to those creatures up on Death Peak. Eventually, the young must migrate to other planets to repeat the cycle. Grown like farm animals waiting to be slaughtered. All of our history, art, science, all to meet the needs of that beast. Attack value is off the scale, shorting out my sensors. This leads into something I wanted to mention before, but wanted to wait for this dialogue in order to go in and talk about it. The Lavos spawn on Death Peak. Now, there are theories out there that state that when Lavos erupted in 1999 AD, he eventually became, or at least his shell, became the mountain that Death Peak is, and that's why all the Lavos spawn were there. Lavos was reproducing, spawning offspring to send out to other planets. Impossible. Can't expect a toy with an entire world and get away with it. Human hands created me. It means I'm a product of that thing. I am no different than Luca and the others. I am part of all living things. So basically, our unknown, to an extent, evil antagonist for the entire game is a giant parasite shot off from who knows where in the depths of outer space, landed on our planet 65 million years ago. It rested there, grew in strength, and when it was ready, it erupted on the planet's surface and destroyed pretty much all life. It's an interesting take for an antagonist, one that we don't see or hear a lot from. In fact, we don't hear anything from Lavos. It's just this entity that exists to antagonize us and destroy our world. And with that, the final encounter and the world revolution. Lavos core will time warp, and in different stages, of the Time Warp, it will be able to inflict different status effects, use different attacks, etc. All 3 parts are targetable, and all have different strategies for taking them out. The one on the right has high defense until one of the others falls down. The one on the left absorbs all magical damage. Only way to take it down is with physical attacks. Evil Star reduces HP by half. This is a magical based attack to drop our HP. We're going to Mega Elixir since we need MP anyway. And then we're going to use Robo here to deal a huge chunk of damage. The Lavos core shuts off its defense. The core is not the centerpiece. The core is actually on the right. Core has 20, 30,000 HP, something ridiculous like that. Centerpiece can fall. And if either of those 2 left pieces fall, it will cause the guy over here to lower its defenses, allowing it to be targeted. Putting Robo in the 3rd position allows him to do Double Bomb, which can do a lot of damage, and he can deal a lot of damage like that even if he doesn't have the Prism specs on, allowing you to give it to someone else if you so desire to do so. Now, at this point, if you target the 2 sides, they can use a combination attack on whoever targets everyone on the screen. I believe that only works if the middle guy is gone, though. So what we're going to do here is we're going to eliminate the main guy. The guy on the right, the actual core, is not very dangerous on his own. He's the defense of the team, and if you leave all 3 of them alive, the right core will eventually turn its defense back on. If you continue to take it out, it will eventually put its defense back on and then immediately turn it back off. See? It's going to restore its its defense here, and on its next turn, it will immediately turn it back off because it needs to be off in order for it to revive its friends. See what I mean? Now, the main body itself is where the majority of the damage comes from. The left core, or the left bit, I guess you could call it, is kind of the counter-attacking piece. I'll be able to demonstrate that in a minute, but yeah, the main damage comes from the guy up front. Where are my revives at? This is not an easy fight. It can be a short fight if you know how to go about things, and I'm specifically prolonging the fight to demonstrate certain things. We're going to easy punch this guy because it's going to activate a different kind of setup here. And with no center bit, they attack with an X-Strike combination attack. And this says it disables defense. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. We're gonna heal. And is that enough? We're gonna finish off the side bit there. We're gonna wait for him to reform the other guy. Oh. We may have to wait a moment. But there is at least one more attack I do want to demonstrate because it's the one that can often lead to the game over. As I said, it's not necessarily an easy fight, but if you know the fight, it can definitely be a fast fight. Take this guy out in the meantime. And this is the strongest physical attack power of any attack in the entire game. It's the one final attack I really did want to show off because it's pretty damn powerful. Set up a couple strong attacks here. I believe he's got another big rock attack that might be single targeting. I'm not 100% sure. Usually I don't get to see a lot of his attacks because I know the fight well enough that it usually ends in a handful of rounds anyway. But yeah, each of the time warps, as you can see, changes the background and changes what abilities the boss is able to use. Now, a lot of the time when I was a kid, I would always bring Ayla into this fight to use Falcon Hit because it was one of the few ways that I could attack all of the enemies on the field. There's another attack for you. It was one of the few ways I could attack all of the enemies on the field with a physically based attack. Without putting myself in a lot of danger, such as like the Dino Tail or Frog Squash. Now, one other thing is considering Frog is often lower level than a lot of my other characters, because I don't tend to use him too much anymore. I brought him through the on my re-trips through the Black Omen, and had him in low HP the whole time and use Frog Squash because he's able to, with about, I don't know, I think he needs about 250 HP, and a Frog Squash at my levels, mid-50s, can one-shot pretty much everything in the entire area that you'll run into on a repeat trip. But yeah, when we did Luca's quest for the Sunstone, we had a nice little campfire scene, and we were thinking for a little bit. Thinking about this entity. Now, there is talk in theories for this game that this entity might be the spirit of the planet. They were talking about the fact that this entity and not Lavos might have created the gates, and so the spirit of the planet would have wanted us to experience these things, open up these gates, so that one, it could relive its life, and two, so that it could allow us to save it from Lavos. Kind of a, you know, the world flashing before its eyes before it dies. Which is an interesting concept. And now that we know what Lavos actually is, I think it makes a little more sense to actually talk about, you know, what that entity could have been and what it was doing, because now we are fully aware that you know, that Lavos is this giant parasite that's basically just consuming our land from the, you know, our world from the inside out. During the final image, we get this flash of one of the bits still alive. If you know what happens in the DS version and in Chrono Cross, you could interpret that one way or another. It's time to rise and shine. We have a little surprise for you. But other than that, I think it's just an after image. I don't think it has anything to do with anything. Your stay of execution has been canceled. Carry out my sentence? I just saved the world! Now I'm dead? I'm looking for you, Chrono. Where did you take my daughter? Come on, not again. Chrono hasn't done a thing. Says Chrono has been a perfect gentleman, but what do you think, Chancellor? The interesting thing is, I don't believe anything here changes regardless of whether you've completed Marley's side quest and unlocked the Chancellor. So technically, this could either be the good Chancellor or it could be Yakram. And I believe the scene plays out the same regardless, which is kind of funny to me. Chrono's deeds have had an enormous impact on the kingdom. Chancellor, how could you, after we saved you? Just listen to me. We had to. Save the future, right? Wait a minute. Huh? You saved the future and gave us hope. You fought Magus's troops and brought peace to the kingdom in the year 600. Chrono beat Reptiles. Now, the best part about this is not only is this song a fanfare, but it's also a certain character's theme. That would be Luca's. Mainly because when we have reason to celebrate, it's usually because Luca's done something completely ridiculous and saved our asses. You brought them here, didn't you? Our kinsman told me all about your incredible mission. Kinsmen? These are my ancestors and descendants. Of all stupid bullshit, yes. Here I was fussing about my kingdom and my daughter, and you were saving the past, present, and future. Now for a true victory parade. I can speak. Tonight we celebrate you. Now Marley, go out and enjoy the last night of the fair. I think the scene makes a lot more sense if you do Marley's quest and the king goes through the arc and Marley goes through the arc and they change. Come along with Chrono, our hero. Princess Nadia is finally home. At last, Guardia is back to normal. It's a moonlight parade. And the game's going to make me follow this. So this is a good time to talk about this. I had read about this before, but someone in comments had mentioned it again, and my writing is bad, so I believe your username was CKELCRO. I'm probably getting that wrong because my writing's terrible, and I wrote that down on paper. But this individual reminded me in one of the comments of an earlier video, and so I wanted to talk about this. From sources that people have found out, the original plan was not to be able to revive Chrono. The original plan was for the game, before they changed it to what we eventually got, was for us to return to the fair at the start of the game and get a fresh Chrono with no experience. Take him with us through the Black Omen into the end of the game, defeat Lavos with him, and have him fall in battle. And I obviously couldn't talk about this until after the battle. But the idea is something about fate being tied to Chrono. The only way for the planet to survive was for Chrono to give his life. And that's an interesting take. I much prefer what they did with the game because the fact that one, they killed off the main character, and two, they gave us the ability as an option, not a requirement, to recruit him again if we so desired to. If they forced him back in your party half an hour later, it would have been pointless, but they give you an option. You don't have to revive him. The game definitely points you in the direction of doing so, but you don't have to, and I very much appreciate that. During the Moonlit Parade, Marley leads the way. If you did not save her legs, don't be a sack of potatoes. Dance with me. She will not be walking. Oh no, King says you save the future. Wait till I tell my friends. But yeah, she will be sitting next to Tabin or on the other side of Tabin if you haven't saved her legs. Lemonade sure tastes great outdoors. You're drinking beer. Chrono, have a sip. You're the hero today. Whoa, underage drinking. You saved us all? Well, that's nice, dear, but I wish you'd spend more time around the house. Why is that? It's a real problem when the person in charge of the cat is gone. So in other words, I haven't been feeding the cat, and that's causing a major problem. The princess is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. Of course you are, too. Oh boy. This is fantastic. They've closed off pretty much everything. You're not allowed to leave. You can't interact with these guys. Can I talk to you? Nope. Melchior! Not much business in weapons anymore, but I like it that way. Now here, we can hit all these things, and hey, where are you going, Luca? They've blocked off all the amusements. Everything is a light, it's colorful. Kind of laggy because there's too many sprites on the screen, but it's all good. Everything sparkles. It really is a moonlight parade. In order to continue, we must come up here. Each to thine time. The gate has grown weak. Gotta say our goodbyes before the gate closes. You're all leaving. Chrono was strong. Marley too. Ayla have fun. You're my distant ancestor, so you better have tough kids or I'll be in trouble. Don't worry, Ayla very strong. Right. Hey, what do you mean by that? Kino dummy, we go now. We know what's going to get paired. Tis a feisty crowd, but they are thine kin, and 'tis of consequence. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. Queen Lene awaits. Your Majesty, we too shall take our leave. Mr. Frog. Long farewells ne'er were necessary. Right, besides, actions speak louder than words. Yeah, don't these things end with the princess kissing the frog? Now, there's obviously no relationship here. This is more of a thank you for your help, and I think it's also leaning on, the princess kisses the frog and turns him into a handsome prince kind of trope, hoping that Frog will eventually get his physical form back, his human form. Remember, that is Glenn. If Magus is not in your party, you don't get to see this. So you're going to search for Shala. Now, if you remember, in the original timeline, we saw the Black Gates open. Janice and the 3 gurus were taken by these portals and sent to different timelines. What we didn't see is what happened to the Queen and what happened to Shala. In the timeline that we have altered, we know that Shala made it back to the Ocean Palace and used the last of her power to send her 2 remaining characters and the pendant with Chrono's spirit to safety. We don't know for sure what happened to her after that. No words need to be spoken. Luca, I will miss you. And I will miss you too, Robo. You're one of my favorite characters in this game. What's wrong, Luca? Gonna say goodbye to Robo? She knows. Knows what? Robo was born in a bleak future. When we defeated Lavos, we changed history. Robo may not exist in the future. Please relax. The new future has a place for me. Darn it, Robo. Don't pretend you don't care when you're really sad. It just makes things worse. Luca, you have taught me these emotions. Thank you. Tears don't become you, Luca. Robo will be there in the new future. Goodbye. Caution! Oil has washed over my sight sensors. Sight diminished. Robo cries tears of oil. That's the most adorable thing I've seen since the last most adorable thing I've seen in this video game. It was probably Magus's cat following him around. See, that's why I love Robo's character. He gets more of an arc, and even though it's very much a background process throughout the entire game, they don't spend a lot of time on it, but he slowly gains access to more emotions, more of an understanding, and becomes more human over time. And it's something they didn't have to spend a long time going into a huge arc on, which they easily could have done, and which they have done for similar characters in future games. It's just the simplicity that I really appreciate here. Our lives flash before our eyes before we die. Now, this is referring back to when Marley was, for lack of a better term, dead before we changed history and she reappeared back at the very beginning of the game. I get the feeling that that entity is finally at rest. Now, they're also referring to the side event that we spoke of during the boss fight, where I was talking about that campfire scene. The thing is, this line is here whether you experience that or not, so I'm not exactly sure if they're referring to a specific one or if they brought up this entity during that first scene and I just don't remember. Anyway, I feel that too. Time travel. How exhausting. We should dismantle the epoch. Job is done. Hey! You naughty thing, come back here. Your cat's running away because you haven't been feeding it. Hey, come back here. Now, I took the epoch to fight the final boss. However, I didn't do it with the cutscene, so it's playing the ending that would normally play if you did not take the epoch there. The gate will never open again. Looks like we have no choice but to go after them. But the gates? Luca, don't turn off your brain yet. I forgot, we have a time machine. I get the feeling that that laugh is supposed to be, like, really stupid. The only thing that that laugh specifically reminds me of is... oh, what is it? Larry, Curly, and Moe. The Three Stooges. That's the one I was thinking of. Anyway. This wasn't exactly the ending I was planning on showing off. I thought I would get the right one. So happy. There's no reason for you to go away anymore. I have a gift for you to commemorate this day, Princess Nadia. This is Nadia's bell. It will ring out across the land. I believe this is the gift the Chancellor spoke of, but I'm not 100% sure. Marley, where did you go? Could you please lend me a hand? Also, why are you calling your daughter Marley when you've always called her Nadia? Just an observation. Daddy, hate to say this, but I can't sit around doing nothing. Now, it's hard to tell with the old sprites. Obviously, that means we're in the time machine. But the king is still hanging from this bell. His feet are not on the ground. Phew, made it just in time. Shall I fire one off? No, Tabin, actually, I could really use your help. Yeah, he's stuck up there. And no, that did not kill him. This is Two Faraway Times and is probably my favorite ending theme to a video game ever. I absolutely adore this song, and it brings me tears more times than I'd probably like to admit. Now, I mentioned this in the ending. Actually, I can't remember if I edited that out or not. Whatever. And Masato Kato, thank you for making this. But at the end of Final Fantasy VIII, you'll notice that there was a similar scene of an airship flying over the whole world, and I had originally made a joke. I may have edited it out just because it led to a spoiler for this game, but I basically said, oh, look at that, they ripped off Chrono Trigger. I can't remember if I left that in there or not. It's months ago now. But anyway. Review time. Completely biased. Hey, Atropos. And Robo. Looks like they're still traveling through time looking for Chrono's mother. And there's Frog. And Magus can fly. Damn, he's badass. So yeah, my super biased review. I've said it all throughout the entire game. It's the story, the characters, the music, the simplicity, and yet balanced nature of the combat system. You know, the simplicity of the gameplay. The graphics still hold up now. They're some of the best looking, you know, pixel art graphics that they ever made on the system. You know, everything is just phenomenal about this game. You know, I like the story. It's not overly complicated, and if they eventually did some kind of an updated remake of the game that isn't just, you know, a little bit of an extra shade, they could probably add a whole lot more detail, and I don't know if it would actually work. I think what works about this game is its simplicity. You know, we have a parasite that we know nothing about that has destroyed the world. There's no deep character development for this villain. He's just there, and, you know, we need to stop him from destroying the world. We take this plight on ourselves because no one else has and no one else can. We have the ability to transport ourselves through time. No one else has been able to do this. No one else can do this. There's no other option. We save the world or the world ends. The characters don't get a huge amount of development. They're very flat, basic archetypes. But each of these characters gets their own arc. It's not a big, long arc. It's not overly complicated. But each of the side quests pertain to one of these characters, and it's still the gold standard of any video game ever made as far as side quests go. The side quests aren't stupid. They're not pointless. They're not fetch quests. They're not go kill super bosses. It's just there. The game is just giving you more reason to play through and look at more of the same. We get more character development. We get some cool items. They fix the issue with the Masamune not being Frog's best weapon by making it his best weapon. And yeah, like the battle system, I love the battle system. It's very nice and simplistic and simple. And did my game freeze? It's supposed to move on from that. Maybe it, yeah, there we go. It does eventually move into the Marley's theme there. But yeah, the battle system, the gameplay is very, very straightforward. There's not a whole lot to it outside of, you know, equipping your characters and playing, you know, the battle system. But the game's very balanced. All the characters are useful. Of all of them, Marley probably has the least amount of use, but she's a support character. She's not supposed to be DPS. Pretty much everyone else can do a shitload of damage in this game, depending on how you set them up. Give someone like Frog or Ayla a Prism Specs, which ups their attack power, and have them low on HP. Frog Squash Dino Tail can do 5,000 damage at 1 HP to everyone, and most enemies don't take reduced damage from physical. So, fantastic damage. Chrono and Ayla, Prism Specs on them. They can do high amounts of physical damage with Triple Kick or with Confuse. Prism Specs on Ayla or Magus or Chrono, Luminaire, Flare, Dark Matter. Huge damage. Very, very powerful. Marley's kind of the only one out, and she is pretty much just the support. Like I said, the graphics are great. The graphics are, you know, they hold up better than most of the SNES games, and most of the SNES games really do hold up really well. You know, the early forays into 3D, they don't hold up all that well. Have you looked at the original Final Fantasy VII lately? Thank God for that remake. It is looking better and better the longer that I look at it, and money may end up disappearing into a void for a console that I really shouldn't buy because that game is starting to get way too hyped. And it's my second favorite game of all time, so, you know. But back to this game. You know, the graphics are great, and finally, the only other thing to mention is the music. 10 out of 10. Like, how could you say anything else? This has some of my favorite music of any game ever made. And Mitsuda did a phenomenal job at it, and Uematsu filled in and did a few songs to finish off the soundtrack, and they're also phenomenal. And the thing is, there's not like this big stylistic gap between the two composers, which you sometimes see when they have different composers on a soundtrack. Here, they very much blend together. They have a very similar style, and they all fit the world that they're being used in. Anyway, I'm glad you guys came on this trip with me. I'm glad I did it. I've had a lot of fun going through my favorite game of all time and kind of reliving it, going through some of my memories of this game. I hope sharing that with you has caused some of you to either rethink the game, replay the game, play it for the first time, whatever it is. But this may be the end of the main Let's Play. However, there is more to do. Once you've finished the game, New Game Plus shows up as an option. Next time on Let's Play Chrono Trigger. This game allows you to traverse through the entire game again with pretty much everything that you had before. In a lot of games, this just is a cool way to go through the game really quickly and rewatch all the story and stuff again without having to, you know, grind or do anything like that. Not that you have to do much grinding in this game. You don't have to do any. I just did the efficient ones to get certain skills by certain points. But in this case, there's a lot more to it. There are multiple endings in this game, and as far as bonus content goes, I'm gonna demonstrate a little bit on how New Game Plus works. And then I'm gonna show off each and every ending that we get with this game. I'm gonna tell you when you're gonna be able to access them, because each ending is only available at certain points in the plot. Usually after point A, but before point B. So anyway, these episodes probably won't, they may not be as consistent. I'm not going to say probably, they may not be as consistent because in order to get access to all of these, I have to replay through the whole game. So I may not have access to them all. They probably won't be as long. I'll probably just do, after showing off some of the New Game Plus stuff, I'll probably just do each of the endings in a separate video. And as I get to them, I'll just release them instead of, you know, batching up to do a whole week or anything like that. But anyway, it's pretty much all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining me for the main story of Let's Play Chrono Trigger. There's no more new quests or anything like that with the New Game Plus. It's just the different endings. Hope you guys stick around and enjoy them with me. But that's all for finale of Let's Play Chrono Trigger. If you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.